Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda.
Hare Krishna. Welcome. Here we are. Bhagavad-gita, here it is. So we call the channel because we have it. Bhagavad-gita as it is. Translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And my name is Labanga Latika. We are in the beginning of the 7th chapter, Knowledge of the Absolute. Isn't that something? That's what Bhagavad-gita wants to give us, actually. We have just gone through the first 6 chapters, which has prepared us to come to the point where we are introduced to the Absolute. Of course, we have been hearing about Krishna also previously, but this is the specific focus of this chapter, and I'm reading text 4. And that's also one of those verses that we can learn by heart if that's the way we choose to study Bhagavad-gita. And as we began this chapter, Krishna is saying we will learn Jnana and Vijnana, which was translated in a little difficult way, phenomenal and numinous knowledge, which means knowledge of the material and the spiritual. And this verse will go a little bit into the material energy. Bhumira punalo vayu khang mano buddhireva cha ahankaraiti yangme bhina prakritirastadha. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence and false ego. All together these 8 constitute my separated material energy. So that's Krishna telling us that these energies, they are his, but they are separated, they are material. Purport. The science of God analyzes the constitutional position of God and his diverse energy, is what it says. Material nature is called Prakriti, or the energy of the Lord in his different Purusha incarnations, expansions, as described in the Narada Pancharatra, one of the Sattvata Tantras. So these are different categories of scriptures. Vishnustu Trinirupane Purushakyaan Yato Vidhu Ekang tu Mahatashastri Dvitiyang Tvandasang Stitam Tritiyang Sarvabhutasthang Tani Gyatva Vimuchyate. For material creation, Lord Krishna's plenary expansion assumes 3 Vishnus. The first one, Mahavishnu, creates the total material energy known as the Mahatattva. The second, Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, enters into all the universes to create diversities in each of them. The third, Kshirodakashayi Vishnu, is diffused as the all-pervading Supersoul in all the universes and is known as Paramatma. He is present even within the atoms. Anyone who knows these 3 Vishnus can be liberated from material entanglement. So this is not exactly, how to say, a description of the creation that we will find in the Srimad Bhagavatam, but it is a description of some of the aspects of creation. We have so many different scriptures, and they contain different aspects of the complete knowledge. The supreme absolute truth, that is Krishna himself, that is God. But we learn about different things. These 8 separated material energies, that is not God. But understanding how these energies come from him, that is part of the complete knowledge of God. How creation is started, that is not God. But it is a way for us to understand God's potencies and how we are situated in this creation, which is his. So I'm reading this and I find it very fascinating. I find it very interesting. And I'm just hoping that I can present it in such a way that it also catches your intelligence or mind or interest. Because sometimes we're feeling, when we describe the elements as earth, water, fire, air and ether, and here we also have the subtle elements, mind, intelligence and false ego, that it feels a little old-fashioned. When we look to the periodic table, we have over 100 elements, and here we just have these 5 physical elements and 3 subtle elements. The thing is, you can divide things in different ways. When I look into my my what you call it in English, larder, where I store my foodstuffs, then I can divide it in different ways. I can divide it in, well, these are grains for baking, these are beans for cooking, or I can divide them individually, or I can divide them by color, or I can divide them on which I plan to cook on Monday or Tuesday, or it doesn't change anything. So of course Krishna knows that the universe contains many things, but we can categorize them as earth, water, fire, air and ether by understanding their function. And here mainly we can understand that they all come from Krishna. And here we hear in the purport of how in the beginning of creation Krishna expands. Krishna's plenary expansions in the form of Vishnu. So it's Krishna, and it's also different than Krishna because they do something else. They come to this world, they don't touch the material energy, but the Mahatattva, the totality of the material energy, comes from Mahavishnu. And then Garbhodakshaya Vishnu lays down into each. Mahavishnu also, the universes come out of his pores when he's in his mystical sleep, yoga nidra. This is this is one part of our scriptures that is very interesting. I have this idea that one should turn it into a puppet show with Mahavishnu laying down and the universe is coming out. I have no idea if that is possible at all. But it's how to say, creation is not a primitive idea how something started. The thing is, Krishna, God is a person, and this is how he chooses to do it. So he's there personally, and he does things in a specific way, and we can learn about it. Then Garbhodakshaya Vishnu lays down inside the universe, and from his navel a lotus flower is growing, and on the lotus flower Lord Brahma takes birth, and he's the first living entity within the universe. And then he handles the secondary creation, how he deals with this Mahatattva to create the different planets and life forms and so on. And then Vishnu glances over them, and all the living entities enters into them so they can have some life. And Kshirodakshaya Vishnu, that's Paramatma. He enters into everyone's heart. So God is never very far away. We just have to look for him. We just have to reach out to him, and he's very, very close. And also, this is described. It's not just a vague sense of God must be everywhere, but this is how Krishna describes it through the Vedic scriptures, how he does it, how he chooses to do it. This material world is a temporary manifestation of one of the energies of the Lord. All the activities of the material world are directed by these 3 Vishnu expansions of Lord Krishna. These Purushas are called incarnations. Generally, one who does not know the science of God, Krishna, assumes that this material world is for the enjoyment of the living entities, and that the living entities are the Purushas, the causes, controllers and enjoyers of the material energy. According to Bhagavad-gita, this atheistic conclusion is false. In the verse under discussion, it is stated that Krishna is the original cause of the material manifestation. Srimad Bhagavatam also confirms this. The ingredients of the material manifestation are separated energies of the Lord. Even the Brahma-jyotir, which is the ultimate goal of the impersonalists, is a spiritual energy manifested in the spiritual sky. There are no spiritual diversities in the Brahma-jyotir as there are in the Vaikuntha lokas, and the impersonalist accepts this Brahma-jyotir as the ultimate eternal goal. The Paramatma manifestation is also a temporary all-pervading goal. No. The Paramatma manifestation is also a temporary all-pervasive aspect of the Kshirodakshaya Vishnu. The Paramatma manifestation is not eternal in the spiritual world. Therefore, the factual absolute truth is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. He is the complete energetic person, and he possesses different separated and internal energies. Yes, so Brahman is eternal, Paramatma is eternal. But in the spiritual world, we have a direct personal relationship with Krishna in his home, where he lives, where he has his existence, and therefore Paramatma reaches out to us when we are not there. He follows us out of his kindness. He's accessible to us, and he Actually, we wouldn't be able to exist in this world without the assistance of Paramatma. This will come up later. And this material universe, it doesn't just randomly come into being. Neither does God set it up like a clockwork by creating all the separated parts. He gives the Mahatattva, he gives access to the living entities, and he gives the intelligence and instruction to Brahma to set it up. But without his energies and his permission and his instructions, it wouldn't happen. So, yes, read this Bhagavad-gita, then start reading the Srimad Bhagavatam, and there will also be quite some part of it dedicated to describing the creation, the secondary and the primary creation. And it will be very interesting, because somehow in the West, I do not mean to criticize any other religion, but we have access to a description of the creation that includes 7 days, and it's very kind of quickly. And personally, I believe it's one way of describing it, because you can do that. Like if you're little and you have the holidays over the summer, and you come back to school and someone asks you to describe it, you could say, well, we were home for a while, then we went to, I don't know, to Italy, and then we went and visited our grandparents, and then we came back. And that will not be false, that will be true. But if you've been writing in your diaries, then you can have, in Sweden we have a summer holiday for 3 months. Then you could enter every day you could enter it. We woke up at this time, we had breakfast, we went to the beach. We cut the lawn. What do you call it? Move the lawn? Yeah. Something like that. We picked strawberries. Today it rained. You will have many more details. It's not that one description is false and the other one is true. But the Vedic description has more detail, and we get to understand God's creation a little better. And this helps us in appreciating Krishna, and it helps us appreciating our relationship of him as the cause of everything. Everything comes from him. The difference between us and him is that he created everything, and we just hear, and we're taking advantage of it up to a point. We can't, and we can, like we see that we make scientific advancement, and we can create medicines and vehicles and so many things, computers, that we couldn't do previously. So to some extent, our creation, our input is valid, but it's very small against the backdrop of the creation of the Supreme. So this is good to understand, and it's also easier to focus on that God when we can see his position, what he does. And especially here in the modern times, where we are kind of reading the old scriptures that we grew up with, and we don't really find answers to our questions, because I believe that the descriptions have been simplified a little bit, because they are not meant as a detailed description. They're meant as, okay, it's a little bit like this. That's what God did. And then we get on with the part where we practice our religion, where we practice our spiritual life. And the Vedas are a little bigger, so there is more room for a more detailed description. And here, this is not the complete creation, but it's a good basis to understand Krishna's position. And in relationship to Krishna, we can understand our position. In the material energy, the principal manifestations are 8, as above mentioned. Out of these, the first 5 manifestations, namely earth, water, fire, air, and sky, are called the 5 gigantic creations, or the gross creations, within which the 5 senses objects are included. They are the manifestations of physical sound, touch, form, taste, and smell. Material science comprises these 10 items and nothing more. But the other 3 items, namely mind, intelligence, and false ego, are neglected by the materialists. Philosophers who deal with mental activities are also not perfect in knowledge, because they do not know the ultimate source, Krishna. The false ego, I am, and it is mine, which constitutes the basic principle of material existence, includes 10 sense organs for material activities. Intelligence refers to the total material creation, called the Mahatattva. Therefore, from the 8 separated energies of the Lord are manifest the 24 elements of the material world, which are the subject matter of Sankhya, atheistic philosophy. They are originally offshoots from Krishna's energies and are separated from him. But atheistic Sankhya philosophers with a poor fund of knowledge do not know Krishna as the cause of all causes. The subject matter for discussion in the Sankhya philosophy is only the manifestation of the external energy of Krishna, as it is described in the Bhagavad-gita. Yes. So, when we look at these, 2 lines in a book, we could read it quickly and move over to the next page. But actually, this includes everything we can see. Everything in this world. Earth, water, fire, air, ether. Earth, that's the element that is stable, that we are resting on. Water, without which there will be no life. We can't grow anything. We can't live without water. Fire, it gives the heat. It's even described that fire is in our body as the digestion. Without that fire, we cannot digest our food. We cannot live. Air is movement. We see how the wind moves. We see also inside the body the Vedic understanding of yoga and Ayurveda, health, food, everything, how energies are pushing back and forth inside the body. That is also understood. And ether is understood as the space. We can be somewhere because ether gives room for us. Because if something else would be there, we couldn't be there. I'm sitting on a sofa right now, so I can sit on top of it because there is space. But where the sofa is standing, I cannot be there. So this material structure and all these material elements, so this material structure, these material elements, and Prabhupada is describing how we have this water, fire, air and sky. We have the sense objects. We have the senses. And together, these are so many elements. And this is studied, and Prabhupada speaks about the atheistic Sankhya philosophy. Sankhya is a word that also means counting. And when we read the Srimad Bhagavatam, we will have Kapila Dev. He will speak also Sankhya, but that Sankhya will connect the soul to the Supreme by means of counting the elements in the material existence and concluding that the soul is beyond them. But just counting the elements in the material world, we can count them, we can say there is matter and spirit, we can say there is earth, water, fire and ether, we can say there is iron and oxygen and 100 different elements that we find in the periodic table. So it's good to understand this world, but if we don't understand how it connects to the Supreme, how it is spiritual, then it won't take us anywhere. But in this world, often it's like that a simple faith in God, without anchoring it also in an understanding of how this material world, it's also so that it doesn't satisfy the mind, it doesn't satisfy the intelligent. So in order to become steady and fixed in our spiritual process, then it's good to understand not only that Krishna is God, but also how does that show up in this world. And therefore this chapter speaks of knowledge of the spiritual and of the material side by side. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. We have, of course, below the actual film, there is a little box for information. I have some links for you with accessing your own Bhagavad-gita, finding a Krishna temple, and I appreciate questions in the comment field, and I will come back to them and answer to the best of my ability. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for watching. We aim for updates every Tuesday and Friday. Please come back. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down there. We also have some links and information for you. And there is, of course, the subscribe button. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
I'm a Hare Krishna, and I approve this message. Subscribe.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama.